Islam, peace and love, peace, love, and power. I am Sade Renee L, and I'm back at it again with another video. And today I'm going to be reading something in regards to Fiat, faith, and Dyslogics families. Fiat being a silent weapon. And this has been written by the Honorable Tarik Bey. And I'm actually just going to read straight through it. Fiat, faith, and Dyslogic families. Fiat, a silent weapon, by Tarik Bey. In the course of human affairs, injurious or hurtful circumstances may occur due to inclement weather, as when a tornado or storm suddenly arises and rages across the land. Oftentimes, people can prepare for the effects of a storm, since nature almost always gives a sign or warning. For instance, we can sense when rain or storm is coming with the telltale signs of a dark cloud or a sudden acceleration of wind, etc. These are some of the notations that foretell of an impending tempest or squall. During the winter seasons, ice and snow may bring busy activities to a standstill. In spite of the tempestuous conditions that a storm or a rain may bring from time to time, we always know that in these events nature is cleansing and or watering the earth for the supports of life. Then after the storms, with a balanced never-ending goodness, nature brings sun. With that, the benevolence of nature were true to the desires of some men, as they ply their pseudo-religious dogmas in a stark pretense of good. Such trusted hypocrisy, crippled in foul pretexts of promise, bodes ill in persuasion to men, women, and children by such repetitious and blasphemous fiat. Many of the lack of self-esteem problems and social economic deprivations affecting all Aboriginal, Indigenous, natural peoples and their families has definite and traceable roots in the pseudo-religion, canon law, artfully induced disassociation, misprison, and operative colonial demo politics. Upon closer and more logistical-oriented intersocial studies, the numerous moral and spiritual convulsions and inconsistencies that plague and oppress us in these days have manifested in the physical and civil realm, multifaceted and reflecting as social and economic. So let us reflect upon a few of the institutionalized factors that have caused the myriad of unnatural forms of dysfunction and poverty among our people and with our families. A studied review of world history and political usurpations revealed the modus operandi of Christendom as the culprit. Much of the social and economic injuries suffered by us, the Aboriginals, was initiated by fiat and authorized by the Catholic popes and archbishops of Rome. These self-authorizations declared through bullas or by what is known as canonical decree. The descent character and human absence practices of their Roman forefathers was, and is, the marked and commonly applied fiat thought process manifestations cherished in the social character of the European colonists who now occupy the Western Hemisphere by fiat, forced illiteracy, and force of arms. Fiat. Fiat is a Latin word meaning let it be done, let it be made. It is a word that alone or in formula indicates that something is declared to be done by an accepted or competent authority that sanctions the doings of something. Thus, fiat is a command having for its object the creation of something. Demopolitics, an oppressive slave, making governments go hand in hand. One is an appendage of the other because fakery, fraud, theft, and disingenuousness by way of artful misrepresentations is declared by fiat. This pseudo-monetary concept was and is heavily expressed in that European colonial system commonly referred to as sharecropping. This pseudo-monetary system of fiat purports, by deceptive and unfulfilling promise, to empower and economically secure the hard-working natural persons and their families. This holds them monopolistically and under a color of authority to force servitude by occupying urine foreign governance and dyslogistic forms of predatory commerce. Sharecropping. Sharecropping is a method of labor theft invented by European slaveholders, whereby the hopeful and naive natural persons were kept in poverty and debt by being led into thinking that they could become economically stable or successful by working and cultivating land controlled by or alleged to be owned by feudal European landlords and farm holders. The dead promise was usually a percentage return of the produce for the season of work and sacrifice. However, they would systematically corrupt the record keeping involving the output of the produce and jack up the principal demands. Then the landlords would arbitrarily add unconscionable interest and untenable demands. Thus, the sharecroppers or laborers would not and could not have satisfied the artificially created debt attached to the adhesion contract agreements. The outcome of the blind faith agreement was reduced to a perpetual servitude for the sharecroppers and massive amounts of ill-gotten wealth for the European colonial landlords. Sharecropping is closely related to the term tenant farmer. A tenant farmer is one who works and cultivates land owned, or claimed to be owned, by another and pays rent and leases in cash or produce by a percentage share. A share means a fair portion, a substance for substance. Fair promise was offered by the European colonial landlords and exploiters. Those sharecroppers who were burdened to till and cultivate the land thought that the landlord's promise were valid and real. But the alleged fair return for service and labor was never to be satisfied. This artfully crafted, fraudulent, and miscreant system of exploiting servitude laborers became the main source of influence and intersocial exercises for developing the credit system onto an unsuspecting world. Thus, fiat is associated with counterfeiting, swindling, large-scale cheating by abuse of confidence, and misplaced faith, blind faith. Pseudo-religion was freely propagated and taught to the forlorn and near, hopeless slaves, and became the mental opiate used to soothe their pains, poverty, and sorrows. This is the advent of blind faith pseudo-religion among the aboriginal natural peoples of North America. Fiat, faith, and credit. In the broader realm of economic trade and interfacing, fiat is its intersocial economic usages came to be closely related to the words trust and faith. Faith is a firm belief in something for which there is no proof, but yet accepted with strong conviction. This blind practice of unquestioned belief, trust, and loyalty to dogmatic pseudo-religious doctrines have traditionally been propagated amongst the oppressed and the poor, prompting naive trust. Trust means confidence and reliance on some quality, character, substance, or attribute of a person or thing, or truth to a statement or presentment of species of a thing. Upon this credible account of honor and integrity, the European bankers, politicians, and slaveholders devised their plans for theft by credit. Thus, the corporate state, guilds by fiat of their legislators, began to issue bills of credit. Keep in mind that fiat implies trust, and that trust is the implied basis for credit. This relates to the implied honor and integrity supposedly inherent in the trading of substance for substance, in monetary exchange and in labor compensation, and that the species of thing is, in fact, what it is claimed, represented, or charged to be. And so it would follow, by faith, that such species would be convertible into specie. Thus again, the concept of value for value and compensation and monetary exchange. So now we are groomed to, and by government decree, coerced into, using fiat money in place of our stolen gold and silver. The said gold and silver coins being confiscated by the fiat ecclesiastical authority declared by the popes of Rome and embodied in the Intercatera Divina, Church Bull of 1493 AD. This edict set the course of actions for European social economic policies in North America through fiat law, fiat religion, fiat government, and fiat money. So what is fiat money? Fiat money is an oxymoron because it constitutes a rhetorical figure, and that fiat and money is conjoined to imply that they are synonymous. The fact is that fiat is bookkeeping and abstract in nature, due to the fact that it is based on faith and trust. Money is actually gold and silver coins, has actual value, and is substantive. Fiat is irredeemable, quasi-money, is not physical, is issued and declared legal by fiat order, but is not and was never intended to be secured by gold or silver or any other legitimate or adequate reserve of actual value. Fiat is usually paper, quasi-money, but also has content of slug coins made of baser of near value metals, whose actual metallic value and content is worth far, far less than that assumed face value. By instituting the using fiat counterfeit instruments as a method to subvert the Constitution, the corrupt politician and bankers in partnership can commit theft against the natural people. Fiat has enabled colonial politicians to systematically steal land and property and deceptively transfer that stolen wealth for themselves. The same method is used to rob people of their labor and disguise the weapon fiat. Credit. Credit is derived from the Latin word credere and means belief, confidence, faith, and trust. In the misrepresented and degenerated financial system of adhesion contract thievery, credit is that abstract and intangible influence connected with certain social positions created to encourage faith in a thing, an act, or a promise. It is the pseudo-monetary process by which the ability for a businessman or woman is purported to borrow the abstract credit in place of real or substantive gold or silver coin, which is real money. The downside is that the creditor demands a return of substance, money, or some other thing of value, such as land, for the alleged loan of credit. Compound interests are artfully attached to the loan of credit, and the scenario of political perfected sharecropping continues in an institutionalized format. Thus, perpetual debt upon the borrower and the contrived inability to satisfy less than honorable debt. As a clear ethical and variable point of honor and lawful monetary reference, the following is a supreme law of the land excerpt from Article 1 of the Constitution for the United States Republic, North America, and followed by Article 6 establishing the oaths and obligations of politicians, government officials, and legislators, etc. Article 1, Section 10. No state shall enter into any treaty, alliance, or confederation, grant letters of marque and reprisal, coin money, emit bills of credit, making anything but gold and silver coin a lender in payment of debts, pass any bill of attainder, ex post facto law, or law impairing the obligation of contracts, or grant any title of nobility. Article 6. All debts and engagements entered into before the adoption of this Constitution shall be as valid against the United States under this Constitution as under the Confederation. This Constitution and the laws of the United States which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made, or which shall be made, under the authority of the United States, shall be the supreme law of the land. And the judges in every state shall be bound thereby. Anything in the Constitution or laws of any state to the contrary, notwithstanding. The senators and representatives before mentioned, and the members of the several state legislatures, and all executive and judicial officers, both of the United States and of the several states, shall be bound by oath or affirmation to support this Constitution, but no religious test shall ever be required as a qualification to any office or public trust under the United States. Facts and reality. Number 1. And so we see, by fact, by law, and by truth, that fiat is not lawful money. Number 2. We also see that credit is an abstract reliance dependent on faith and is not lawful money. The lawful constitutional evidence has shown and proven that lawful money is in fact and reality gold and silver coins, and that no debts can be satisfied without the said gold and silver coins. The reality check and lessons to be learned from this short treatise is that the majority of natural people have been deliberately deceived about what they have been told is lawful money. This degraded state of social naivety and ignorance was groomed and promoted by the disingenuous politicians, teachers, and instructors administering the institutions controlled by European colonists operating in North America. The same dead culture methodology constructed for design miseducation and family dissolution spans the entire public educational arena, held under the iron-handed control of miscreant persons. This treatise involves the exposure of a majority social-religious secret of European demo operations in America. Their fiat currency, fat law, fiat government, and blind faith mental slavery dictums are subtly used to impoverish, break down, and destroy the families of Aboriginal natural peoples. It is therefore incumbent upon the natural peoples of the world awaken to this silent weapon strategy and to shun dogmatism, naivety, emotionalism, and demo state sponsored ignorance. Distorted and misrepresented history, human rights violations, color of law policies, and present-day disrupted conditions imposed upon the natural people are surely evident. The colonists have preserved the will and fiat of their forefathers. The divine laws and nature commands that we, the Aboriginals, go back to the superior and progressive state of mind of our own forefathers and founders of civilization. Pain and suffering are great and impassionate teachers, though in this case by default, and should become attentive sources of inspiration for all of us to read more and do serious scholarship, studies, and research. Divine fate has left a charge upon those of us who have been misused, misdirected, and deceived to change our own conditions and false perceptions of the world around us. Honorable principles like fair exchange, constitutional law axioms, or substance for substance compensations are not a part of demo-colonial character, nor are they germane to the deviant benefactors of its fraud. Every man, woman, and child must confess their own. Unity, truth, nationality, and justice are the call of the day. Remain now in the light of consciousness. A more detailed history of money. The word money is derived from the Latin word moneta, the name of goddess, after whom a temple was named. In this ancient temple, coins were minted and were called money, in honor of the goddess Moneta. Thus, the etymology of the derivative word money means to coin or mint. The original true denotative and etymon meaning of money was given in honor of the realistic and natural value, nurturing, sustaining, and substantive nature of the feminine principle, and their economies of life. Therefore, from the original mother word, moneda, the word money is derived and traced back in history. The words coin, mint, and money are synonymous. Misrepresentation, counterfeiting, theft, and deception have long been part of a corrupted form of human social interchange. Such disingenuousness was initiated by way of wars, conquest, subjugation, and in other forms of negating social, political interfacing. The root motive is fraud and theft. It is of vital interest to note the distinctions made between denotation and connotative in language, as denotation is the basis of law. Fad meanings and layered connotations do not apply to truth. This is why the science of language, etymology, was and is promoted amongst conscious Moors, and has been diligently adhered to by governments, queens, kings, rulers, masters, pedagogues, social engineers, linguistics, and legitimate educators and scholars around the world from ancient times to this present. Fiat money, oxymoron, relates to the currently distributed financial paper instruments constructed by the Federal Reserve Banks and its feigned as dollars. Fiat is the legal name attributed to an arbitrarily authorized counterfeit instrument, which in itself is an inconvertible note. Inconvertible is a term jurisprudence, which means that such instruments cannot be changed into anything else, cannot be converted into specie, and is not capable of being redeemed for lawful money. Fiat, which is definitely a tool of war, is a misrepresented means of plausible satisfying a debt, when in fact it is in itself note of debt, sanctioned by some person or governing body possessing authority and operating under color paper currency, is a prime example of fiat, as produced by the private foreign corporation, the Federal Reserve Bank. This anti-constitutional organization was established in the year 1913 AD equals 1333 MC. Keep in mind that President Woodrow Wilson, a member of Skull and Bones, sanctioned this private meeting of congressmen, bankers, and other European elites on Jekyll Island, manifesting with the private law, Federal Reserve, and fiat. These unconstitutional acts were clear political countermeasures to the activities which were initiated by noble Drew Ali and the establishing of the old Canaanite temple in the year 1913 AD equals 1333 MC. This aboriginal-oriented Moorish movement of North America was founded by the redemption of and the nationalization of the true heirs apparent Moors of North America, the vast estate, Northgate, held under the iron-handed oppression of the European colonial, social, and political occupation. In spite of the untoward occupation of the land, the fee simple fact remains that the gold and silver and the commerce belong to the true citizens alone. The heirs apparent are the true and rightful inheritors of the land and all their hereditaments, corporeal and incorporeal. This land, the North Gate, and all that is contained herein, is the birthright of all Moorish American Aboriginals, etc. Therefore, note that the constitutional delegated authority, DOAO, to coin and regulate the money was delegated only to a duly elected Congress of the United States Republic, the legislative branch. This strictly limited government-only power was unlawfully transferred, sold, and granted to the private-owned Federal Reserve banks, Inquisition Knights, by the unclean hands of a corrupted Congress. Thus, the rise of democracy codes for a rogue government and the systematic usurpation of the Constitution-sanctioned republic. See Article 4, Section 4. Many of these less than honorable congressmen were then, and are now, secret society members of the various Masonic orders, who initially, under the colorable authority of President Woodrow Wilson, met in secret on Jekyll Island off of the coast of Georgia. Their mission was to sell or rent out for a funding fee and lawfully limited delegated monetary coining power, which was assigned only to the Congress of the Republic. These associates, European men in secret meeting, formed agreements among themselves separate from the people of the land and adverse to the authority of the Constitution. The will and intent of their action amounts to a transfer of these great monetary powers into private corporation interests and into the hands of monopolizing corporate persons. Thusly, with a compromised Congress and with the controlled possession of the seats of government, the Supremacy Boys Network were enabled to undermine and subvert the legitimate republic and to neutralize the right-securing and checking nature of the Constitution. The art and cunning of creating these negotiable instruments, fiat, and pseudo-legal documents, symbolography, were primed and perfected for publication and production. The aims, purpose, and design of the Federal Reserve was constructed to facilitate misprision and legal tender fiat. The outcome, the application of a color of office manifesting in a color of authority, which was deceptively legalized by manifesting legislation in the nature of a color of law to effectively but not lawfully impose a non-existent debt upon the people of the Republic. Fiat thusly perpetuates an accelerating and sustainable burden of accrued pseudo-debt. This scheme and the ensuing negotiable fiat instruments of reverse wealth deceptively robs the natural people of the land and wealth, and yet systematically amasses great wealth for the corrupted politicians, the congressmen, and for the private foreign corporations and persons to whom corrupted Congress political committed their official seats. Now, the secret society Congress legislates on behalf of corporate interests and bankers, and in direct contradiction to the natural people, the Constitution, and contrary to their official oaths, modus operandi, conquest by counterfeit, fiat. See the United States Republic Constitution, Article 1, Section 10, Article 3, Sections 1 and 2, and Article 6. Read all of these articles of the Constitution and draw your own conclusion. B. What is the lawful money of and for the United States Republic of North America? The lawful money of and for the United States Republic of North America is gold and silver coins, as prescribed in Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution. No debts of the United States can be satisfied except with gold or silver coin. All executive, legislative, and judicial officers of the United States are bound by official oath to uphold and to support the Constitution. Any laws of any state to the contrary notwithstanding. See Article 6. United States lawful money shall be minted in accordance in accord with the weights and measures determined by the Congress, as delegated to them by established supreme law of the land, Constitution. Any laws of any state to the contrary, notwithstanding. All right, peace and love. Peace and love. Again, this was written by Tarik Bey. All right, and again, this was called Fiat, Faith, Dyslogistic Families by Tarik Bey, our Honorable Grand Sheik. And again, I am Sade Renee L. Thank you for tuning into my channel. Much love, peace, and power. Study, study, study. And until next time, Islam.